My name is Peju Olayiwola. I'm an artist, an art historian, and also a descendant of the king whose palace it was that was plundered by the British in 1897. So I'm a granddaughter of His Royal Majesty Oba Kenzwa II of Benin. Okay, when you say Benin bronzes refer to a broad range of objects that are done in different materials, not necessarily bronze, because in Benin there were several guilds. And the most important of all the guilds was the Guild of Bronze Casters, known as Igweum. We also had the Guild of Leather Workers, the Guild of Wood Carvers, we had the Guild of Ivory Carvers as well. So when you say Benin bronzes, it refers to the several materials that the artist worked with. Bronze was a royal material. Because of the permanence of the material, the fact that bronze does not rust, it also meant that the statements that the artist made were to be immortalized. Whatever transpired in the court, as ceremonies were documented, the interactions that Benin had with Europeans were also documented. It holds the philosophies of the people, their religious belief systems, and it also tells a lot of stories about who they are. So they were not meant to be art or objects as we find in Western museums today. They had particular purposes that they served within the culture, and these treasures are still needed in Benin today. The expedition that occurred in 1897 was actually meant to stamp out the culture. The British got in. They had planned that whatever they looted would be sold as items to cover the cost of the expedition. And so they made this incursion, burning some of the towns as they made their way into the palace of the king to pick up the treasures. And once they got the thousands of objects that were there in the palace, they carted them away to London, where they were sold on the market, on the international market. When they were auctioned, the Germans acquired a lot of these objects and put them into the museums. And that's why you have them spread across about 200 institutions around the world. Like you have here in Cologne, you have 96 Benin treasures that came directly from the loot in 1897. Even when the works came on the market, they were known to be looted objects. So in a sense, the Germans are also culpable in buying illegally acquired looted bronze works from Benin City. So you have them in different museums in Germany with the same kind of history. Plundered works, looted works, illegally acquired. Over the years, they've been shown to the German public, and a lot of revenue have accrued from these objects through loans, through gate takings, through publications, without any recourse to Nigeria or to the royal family whose heirloom it was that was looted from Benin City. There's a lot to say about this bronze head, and these are very important materials that are used in the courts. They hold a lot of symbolism for the people. There's also another group, the Guild of Casters, the Igweum, which is the most important guild in Benin City. And the art of bronze casting is still being done in the city. Yes, during the expedition, people fled the city. Even the casters went into farming until 1914 when Oba Eweka became king in Benin City. And so the guild had to be reinstated. So casting continues in the city of Benin. Many of the casters will never be able to come to Europe to view these works in the museums because they have to contend with having enough resources and having to go through the hurdle of applying for visas. So they resort to using the publications that emanate from the West, catalogs and postcards, as a way of reaching their culture. And I call these artificial filters, and a very unfair way for them to experience the process of repeating what their forefathers or their forebears had done. I would say that the casters will long to connect with these works that were done, these masterpieces that were done by their forefathers. Then you see these treasures provided materials for research in the Western world. Many of the books and publications about Benin and Benin arts, Benin treasures, are written by foreign scholars. They've had access to these materials for several decades. I am an art historian. I'm holding this work for the first time in my life. Benin is almost defined by the 1897 event, and there's so much layers of beauty. Edonimose, it's a beautiful culture. And we have to take away this covering of traumatic history, this covering of a very disturbing history that has been foisted on the people of Benin for us to unravel the beauty that is beneath. And I think that the culture has the potential to reinvent itself. This can be done through the arts, through scholarship, through celebrating Edo culture by different generations. Not just by Edo people, but also people of Nigeria, people of African descent, and also people in the African diaspora. When these works are restituted, what impact it has for the people of Benin? Oh, it's incredible. I could take you back to 2014 when 2 small Benin objects were returned by Adrian Walker. He loved those objects, and when he inherited them, he felt that he should return them to Benin City because he felt that if he coveted them so much, he imagined how the people of Benin would feel. So he decided to take them back to the king, and there was huge celebration on that day. These were just 2 objects. We're talking about almost 10,000 Benin materials across the world. I envision a situation where it will generate a lot of creative production. It will be a way of not forgetting the past, but making it a more palatable history to narrate. And it also improve better relations between the countries that are returning these objects to Benin City and to Nigeria. On the other hand, I also feel that we generate a lot of interest in the culture and get people to learn more about these places that had been colonized and violently destroyed by the colonizers. It brings the history of people who have been dehumanized back into focus. So restitution is also an acknowledgement of guilt, and it should also go with an apology for the kind of things that had gone on in the past. It's not about merely returning the works and dumping them there, but looking back at history and saying, yeah, we did wrong, even though we cannot clean up the entire mess, but we can make it easier by acknowledging that what was done in 1897 was bad and returning these treasures that people have been requesting for several decades. It's also about the way and manner in which the colonials came to Africa in the first instance. They came with the intention that they were coming to civilize the people. So they came thinking that they were more superior. They actually believed that they were going into the territories of savages and people who were barbaric. So if we are to extend that sensibility to now, all the arguments about not restituting these objects rehashes all of those kind of thinking of the past. And I think that Germany should begin to face its colonial past. Germany did not come to Benin or Nigeria, but they are culpable in the sense that they bought and profited from looted objects. Okay, because it was a known fact that these things were illegally acquired in the context of violence, killing of people and all of that. So there's a lot that the colonizer has to clean up, not just for Benin, but also in places like Namibia, where it's also the issue of genocide and the request for human remains by the Namibians for proper burial in their own country. So it's not about erasing history, but making it in such a way that people can look at these objects or look at this material and narrate something different that's more palatable to the ears. How should they approach their colonial past? I will speak from the standpoint of an African. I think we're still trying to cope with the experience of colonialism. We still have artificial borders where our brothers and sisters are caught on the other side of these borders that were created. So they're in a different country. So we don't even understand our brothers and sisters across this divide that has been created. I think we should try to see how we can clean up the mess that was left by the colonizer. But I think the starting point would be restitution. First of all, return the works that do not belong here and have a lot of value in the cultures that were violated.